Hey, beautiful people. There we go, y'all. I hope y'all can see you, girl. I hope you guys are good. It's been a minute, y'all. It's been a worldwide of a week. Coming into my moon. So it is quite an interesting time. I hope the week has been treating you guys well last week. And I hope the Capricorn full moon is definitely giving you guys an opportunity to release some good stuff. We've got lots going on during this season, actually. Definitely grounding, but there's so much that we're going to be dealing with to be able to allow for the grounding to occur. So much shedding is going to take place during this climate. And we've actually got lots to deal with in terms of the Saturn retrograde that we've got going on. We also have a lot going on even today, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go and have a look and see. I'm sure that there's some movements going on astrologically today as well that are going to be impacting this Capricorn full moon. And it's all very interesting. Very interesting. Sorry, y'all. Okay. But we move nonetheless, right? We are definitely going to have a look and see what we can do with the energies that we've got at the minute, what we need to do with the energies that we've got, and what we're supposed to do with the energies that we've got at the minute as well, right? Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm literally just checking to see online what's going on with the movements for tonight with the... Okay, so tonight, hey, Smaradinia. How are you doing, beautiful? I'm literally just having a look to see what we've got going on tonight. Okay, let me pull up the chart as well for tonight for the Capricorn full moon. There we go. How's the energy been treating you, Smaradinia? How's the Oh, I am exhausted, girl. After this, I got meditation. I'm up tomorrow at like 6:30 in the morning for work, actually. So I am trying to survive. I'm trying to survive all of these expectations. Time is moving impeccably fast at the minute. And things are actually kind of shifting in a way where I'm not too sure what direction it's going to be taking me. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Capricorn full moon, because obviously it's a release season and I'm not sure. I'm a little anxious for no reason, but okay, I manage it. Yeah, that part. Well, I think that there's a sensing as well, because obviously there's a lot that's going to be taking place, I feel like, with this Capricorn full moon. Like, certain growth is kind of going to be put through its testing phase. I want to say it's like exam season. So now we kind of like shed in the process to be able to see where we truly are. Things are going to become a little bit more apparent. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one for this Capricorn full moon. Where's Capricorn for you in your chart? Because I think that that's going to kind of like make all the difference when it comes to how things actually play out for us. For myself, interesting. 10th house, paternal. Okay. This is all about paternal dynamic. What's relationship with dad like? Help me to understand that, because a lot of the cycles that plays out in the good. A lot of the cycles that plays out in the 10th house is to do with paternal dynamics and relationship. Oh, okay. With mom, it's a little bit. Ooh, okay, interesting. Because okay, so it is so amazing how God is doing this, and like every year it just blows my mind. So obviously we've got the Capricorn full moon, and then we get like the Cancer new moon. So we're gonna balance out. We're gonna share a little bit of the layers. Okay, so this would be interesting. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one for you, my love, because this one's actually setting us up for the Cancer new moon to see where we need to plant new seeds in terms of our relationships with the maternal figure. So I guess in understanding a little bit more about how things are playing out in terms of the space with dad is going to be an interesting dynamic for you to see how it can help you with planting new seeds in terms of the space with mum for the next 2 weeks. This week work on daddy class, and next 2 weeks we'll work on mummy class. Beautiful. That part. Okay, I'm trying to see what crystals are calling out to me. I've already got red jasper, so I'm going to go with the red jasper. Out here, we've got a clear quartz, and we've also got a, what would this be? A black obsidian. Okay. Sorry, we've got like a crystal. I have many planets in Capricorn. Oh, Mars, Mercury, Neptune. Oh, all in conjunction. Oh, girl, all that energy sitting on top of it. Oh, wow. No wonder you feel and sense anxiety. Your nervous system must be like, whoa. Okay, so Mars and Mercury conjuncting as well, and Neptune. Interesting. Oh, interesting. There's going to be some veils, I guess, that gets lifted during this cycle because obviously it's a release season. No, girl, I'm like, ooh. All of that energy sat on each other. It's like, wow. Okay, so it's like creating a perception, right? All of that. So the tendency to be passionate and be communicative about that passion, but also be a little bit, how can I put it, dreamy uh, when it comes to that Neptunian energy as well. So it's all very, very interesting at the minute. And also, like, Saturn's retrograde in Pisces as well, which Neptune rules in Pisces. So there's a lot of energy. Sorry, let me go and get the actual chart up as well so I can have a look at what's going on today. Let's see. There we go. Let's have a look at the chart. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is all very, very interesting. We've got a lot going on. But mainly, I want to say towards the first 9 houses in terms of the energy that's at play with this one. So it's interesting. Um, yeah, it's like leading into that Capricorn energy. So everything up until then is interestingly sort of finding a little bit of a balance. Let's go and dive into it and see as well in terms of the reading and the dynamics of what's taking place. So with the Capricorn full moon, we're actually going to be having some activation with the backbone, and the joints, hair. So that means that our antennas are definitely going to be heightened. I see why the clear quartz crystals definitely sort of like advise as well. Backbone, uh, that would definitely kind of like call for some red jasper for the grounding, because that would be to do with like, I guess a hit on all the chakras, but mainly just keeping balance in the root chakra. So it's interesting because the tip and the root is going to be getting activations during this cycle, and it's going to be sort of like pivoting the way in which we move. So we're definitely going to be going through a little bit of a how can I put it? Self is going to be going through a little bit of an updating. Usually the case, but I think in this situation, the update for us is going to be a lot of subconscious. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of veils that are going to get lifted in this space. I have a very busy mind. I think my dreamy side has helped me a lot too. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting because some of those aspects are going to be sort of like lifted. I guess we're kind of like getting a reality shock. I have to call it a reality shock because it's not just a reality check, it's a reality shock. It's kind of like things that we may have been kind of putting to the back burner. We know it's a priority. We know we need to sort of like get onto it. We know we need to follow up on it, but it's going to be making it apparent that we need to actually like really take a look at these factors. So it's definitely going to be an interesting little journey for us. Let's see. We've got Saturn's in 7 degrees of Pisces. Interesting. So that's in retrograde as well. Neptune's in retrograde as well. We've got Pluto as well. Interesting dynamic. So it's interesting because at the minute, the full moon that's taking place, it's taking place at a certain degree within Capricorn, right? It's not too mature, but it's like right at that middle point where the perception is going to be we're going to be updating probably during like our formative years. So I want to say our teens up until like for some of us who've kind of like lived life to a certain degree. It would be our teens up until I want to say sort of like first quarter of the 20s, right? Not even half, first quarter of the 20s. Some of those programs are going to be getting updated during this season. And a lot of it is going to be sort of like really taking us back, like very, very far back into understanding how we've made certain decisions, why we've made decisions the way that we've made decisions. For some people, it depends on how much processing has been done. It may take them right back to the root, because usually the teen years is like the stems basically of these emotional formatting. So it might take some people, depending, like I said, on how much processing one does, it might take you all the way back into childhood to like go to the root of that as well to be able to release. So this cycle is definitely intentional. We've got a lot of planets that's gone back on their motion just to make sure that we do this appropriately as far as what's needed. Neptune's definitely come in to lend a support as well by going back and not being too, stern on being so dreamy, but also making room, basically making room for an opportunity to be able to see things differently, an opportunity to be able to identify things, but also accept things as they are, because the reality is what it is, right? So Neptune's like, okay, let me tune and dial that, that dreamy state, because it can make us delusional, right? And I have to navigate through it myself as well, being Pisces. Can be a little bit up there. And it's not necessarily like everybody doesn't live in reality in that same context, right? So Neptune's even gone back, and then Pluto is like, you know what, Neptune, I'm going to help you out on being like, being able to pull back on that state of being as dreamy, I'm going to also go back retrograde and have a look at some of the files subconsciously that has supported that level of my detachment, because a lot of the times when we're kind of like being like, when dreamy sort of like happens, it usually happens when we disconnect from one reality to tune into another, right? And it generally tends to happen for the human as a process of disassociation. So you tune out of your current reality to kind of like take your mind to somewhere else. It is actually a formatting of a disillusioned state, right? And I have to kind of like break that down, because these are just natural human aspects. It's kind of just how the human navigates life, right? Sometimes we need to be like in that state of dreaminess and a little bit detached from reality to be able to process at a moderation, process in moderation, if you will. So Pluto's gone back and said, okay, look, I am going to make myself available subconsciously so that you can go into whatever file you need to go into to be able to balance that dreamy state and that dreamy tendency, so that it can be applied and aligned appropriately where it needs to be placed, right? So the planets are doing the most at the minute to really support us in really being able to show up in reality, right? Because obviously these are coping mechanisms that we develop when we're younger, and we need to update the programs on these constantly, because what served us when we were 15 isn't what's going to serve us at 25, isn't what's going to serve us at 29, 30s, 40s, 50s. It's just not, right? So we have to keep updating these things. And as we navigate through the process, we are going to be updating a lot of this stuff, particularly to do with the paternal dynamics, because we're dealing with the 10th house energy. And it usually tends to sort of like highlight dynamics when it comes to paternal relationships. So it's going to be quite the trip, y'all. Let's go and dive into it, though. Crystal number one is going to be the red jasper. I don't know if you guys can see the little triplet. Look, look, look. We're going to do this. I've got on a red jasper as well. But yes, red jasper is the first crystal. We're going to go and dive into that part, Spiridinia, that part, right? It happens. But at the minute, we're going to sort of look and see what needs to be happening. So for those of you guys who are drawn to crystal number one, which is the rose quartz crystal. Oh, dang, guys. I moved my pen and everything. I'm going to go and grab that just so that I can make sure. Oh, I'll just do it on my notepad, actually. Spirit's like, no, just do it on your notepad. I'll do it on my notepad. Go figures. Okay, so crystal number one is the red jasper crystal, right? And we are definitely going to be dealing with quite a bit when it comes to that, right? Because it's all about rooting and grounding. The Capricorn energy is definitely great for that. So for those of you who are actually there, in terms of already being a little bit grounded and ready and prepared, that part's Meridinia. This is a good crystal. It speaks to where you are in preparation for this wave. So how the wave is going to hit you in terms of this Capricorn full moon, it's going to be like a calming little wave. It's going to feel like one of those waves where you can lay back and float. You are going to feel, sometimes you may feel a little bit like on alert, right? Because you're kind of like trying to tune everything out. That's the best way that I can explain it, because this is the vision that they're giving me on it. This is kind of what it's going to feel like. It is going to feel like being in a little bit of a rested state, but there is going to be a lot of things that is going to be happening around you. You are going to kind of like just be tuning it out to some degree. And this is what I'm saying, like, this is where the planets and the retrograde motions that we have are really going to be setting up a process, if you will, for how to be able to kind of like find the calm in this storm that is going to be like inevitable for some, depending on how much work they've been doing when it comes to being able to kind of disconnect appropriately and disassociate appropriately, right? Um, Sometimes we can be moved by our emotions for the positive and negative. And I think that with this particular cycle, for those of you who've chosen the red jasper, you're actually going to be able to navigate through the process feeling like this. Like as the waves come, you're actually able to kind of like go with the rhythm of the waves. You may find yourself at times feeling like you want to sit up and kind of like paddle. This isn't one of those waves. This isn't one of those cycle. All you need to do in this cycle, I'm sure there's going to be something in the message from the universe about surrender, because that's the sense that it's given me. This is a cycle for those of you who've chosen the red jasper crystal. This is a cycle or shedding where you just get to surrender everything that you are actually praying about in terms of certain dynamics when it comes to your ability to be able to stabilize. That's going to be coming during this season, right? Your challenge, should you choose to accept, is to let yourself be willing to commit to success. Wow. That's, I like the way that they put that. Sorry, because I was like picking up on the channel as I was saying it. So yeah, the challenge, should you choose to accept, is to allow for yourself to be committed to success and to allow for yourself to drive forward in that success. So, oh, I dropped the other crystals, y'all. I need to go and find those in a minute. But we're going to go and dive in, right? We're going to go and dive in and have a look and see what's actually taking place for this dynamic, so that we can have a little bit of an understanding. They're already so tiny. I'm probably going to be around here. I'm just going to like scramble some back out the bag, right? Oh, God, they didn't make it. And it's a thingy as well. They're so tiny. Anywho, let's go and dive in and firstly have a look, because we're on a time sensitive situation with this as well, y'all. Your girl's got to be somewhere about 10, right? I've got another catch up at 10. Got to do my own Capricorn full moon meditation to just kind of see and grasp the downloads of what's going to be sort of taking place for this season for myself personally and individually. With the space, we're going to firstly have a look and see where we are as a collective for those who've chosen crystal number 1, being the red jasper. Okay, for those who've chosen the red jasper, guys, what's the where are they during this Capricorn full moon transit? Where are they internally? It's clearly, thank you. Okay, just kind of like what I said as well. So it's being in that King of Cups energy, right? It's being very emotionally calm, being emotionally secure, and just being open to learning, actually. And this is why I said, for those of you who've chosen this crystal, you would have already been at a certain place on your journey. So you can actually just relax as this process and updating takes place, right? There's some subconscious stuff that you're going to be reanalyzing, if you will, and you'll kind of, there'll be situations where you'll be triggered. I'm not going to lie, obviously it's to do with paternal dynamics, right? So there will be situations, I'm seeing at least 3 to 5 main situations during this cycle that may be causing a little bit, it's almost like shifting degrees of perspective, right? So for some of us, there may be 3 classes to sit during this season. For others of us, there may be 5 classes to sit, depending on how much homework we've done. Okay, that part. But it seems for the most part, as we're navigating through the process, there's a willingness to learn. And I think that that aspect, to be able to be emotionally calm about the situation, is what allows for us to really be able to see in the dark, right? And that's the best way that I can put it. It's seeing in the dark. It's that moment where you feel like you're about to sink, but all of a sudden you realize that you're floating and you actually don't need to do anything. All you need to do is be in the moment, right? You're just treading water. The water's already taking you into the direction that you're moving into. So it's going to be an interesting one for us. The next thing I want to look at is, that is cool, right? The next thing that I want to look at is what path are we crossing, for those of us who've chosen the red jasper crystal. I almost said red velvet, y'all. Food of the brain. That was interesting. And then I saw an image of red velvet, and I was like, nope, not that. That was funny. Okay, so interestingly enough, we've got a few cards in terms of the path that we're crossing. So let's have a little look. Okay, 5 cards. So I know, right? That part. I don't know where my mind went there. My mind was like, yeah. I was having a Homer Simpson moment. I was having a Homer Simpson moment. But what I'm seeing with the situation in terms of the path that we're crossing, oh, this is interesting. Okay. So we're not releasing contracts, right? During this cycle where it requires us to not think. What we're doing is not think for ourselves, basically. It's like those dynamics where, we're being tested. We're definitely going to have, I told y'all, we've got at least 3 to 5 triggers during this season. Okay. And in this wave, it seems as though there's dynamics where you're going to be sort of like looking at how you're being appreciated, and also equally finding where your appreciation lies within certain dynamics, right? There'll be people that will be showing up for you that is going to cause you to feel like, wow, I'm so blessed. Like, that was so divinely timed. God was so amazing for that. What a wonderful day. Like, some of those experiences and expressions are going to be coming to fruition during these waves and cycles, because I think that spirit wants to be able to kind of like shift our perspective, like I said, just to a few degrees at a time, right? And these people, these little angels, if you will, that they're going to be sort of like sending in just in that moment where we're really able to see our strength, we're really able to kind of like see our confidence, and we're also going to see how our confidence is then starting to attract a little bit of envy, a little bit of a little bit of I guess dissatisfaction, because that's really where envy stems from, when people are dissatisfied with their own dynamic, their own reality, their own experience. So there may be places that you might be dissatisfied as well, and you're going to be optimizing those areas within your life. And as you optimize those areas, it may cause a little bit of contention, right? Because you're doing a vibrational shift up into like that realm of confidence in those areas. So that energy, whoever or whatever dynamic that was drawing from your confidence, basically, is likely to then kind of push back, if you will. Do you see what I'm saying? It's going to kind of like give you this real like in your face moment, if you will, at least 3 times minimum, during this wave, where you'll be able to feel like, am I making the right decision? What's the right course of action to take in this situation? Because sometimes it's almost like your mind will be a little bit clouded by all of the other expectations and factors to do with the situation. Other people may be a part of the situation that needs to be taken into consideration. So those things are likely to play a factor in terms of some of these 1 or 2 of these 3 classes that you're sitting. But you're not choosing to walk away. For the most part, you're actually choosing to confidently navigate through the process. And on the other side of it, there will be like a genuine sense of appreciation, whether it be you're appreciative of how people were able to show up for you, or how you were able to navigate through that situation or said situations, or whether it be that others are actually, putting a prayer out there to God, for the karma that they've basically earned in being able to kind of like be a part of your process as you've navigated through these three triggers during this cycle. And you're appreciative of those things as well. So it's going to be an interesting little dynamic, funny enough. But the spirit that we're navigating through for this climate is envy, and how that is drawing from confidence, basically. So it's quite an interesting spiritual dynamic that we're navigating through with this confusion of an energy, right? Cue the incoming message. So my thing is, we want to see, what do we need to do to work our light during this season as well, then, guys? How do we work our light during this climate? As clearly as you can. Let me know, how do we work our light during this climate? I can't stand envious and miserable people. Not my type. That part as well. I don't really get the comparison thing. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I find everybody so fascinating as they are. I just don't really see the point in comparison. If anything, the comparison is to be like, oh, look at how this, like when you look at different cars and they're compared, basically it's the same thing. Like, look how this vehicle was designed for this purpose in comparison to how this vehicle is designed for that purpose, type thing. But interestingly enough, the advice is during this cycle, in terms of working your light, because basically it's interesting because I guess we're going to be called, for those of us who've chosen the red jasper crystal, you're going to be called because this is an arrest season for you. So you're basically going to be others' emotional crutch during this cycle, which is interesting because it seems as though you're kind of like, it's interesting being in the situation because there's not really much rest there, right? And that's because you've kind of like set certain dynamics in motion. So it's almost like certain people that are used to sort of coming for you for advice, certain people that are used to sharing a certain space with you, they're around. And they're probably going to be needing you at times that may be pretty inconvenient for you because you may be pouring into or attempting to pour into yourself. But the cards aren't necessarily aligned as such just yet, because you're, I guess, going to be of service during this cycle, and you will be able to receive your flowers on the other side of this, interestingly enough. You're going to have to be the emotional calm in the storm, it seems, during this wave, is the advice in terms of how to work your light. So that's pretty interesting as well. Let's have a look and see in terms of how to work your light, in navigating through this. Let's have a look now and see what the message is from the universe. Should you take heed and work your light accordingly, and find the right balance between rest and giving, right? Okay. So let's have a look and see what is the message from the universe. Should we take heed then, guys? What is the message from the universe? Should we take heed on how to work our light as we cross this path in terms of the direction we're moving into? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Interesting. So the message from the universe is that this one isn't just about through prayer and meditation that you're creating this rippling effect. of peace in the world. It's also about making happiness your birthright. It's also about living, embodying, and actually optimizing that vibration of happiness. Like, what does happy mean for you? How do you Oh, for some people, like, so this is how they're showing it to me. For some people, like, being happy is seeing other people happy and making other people happy. And I think for those of us who've chosen the red jasper crystal, we're actually going to be experiencing that, certain seeds that we've kind of like set into motion for other people to be able to enjoy some happy moments or have some moments that they can appreciate. Those are some of the things that are going to be playing out. It wasn't just through prayer, it was through action as well. It was through actively being proactive about how one's navigating the process of life. Um, the energy isn't necessarily flowing where one's intention is going. And it's a case of trying to find your happiness, even in those moments of calamity, right? Where it's just turbulence after turbulence as you're trying to sort of like have your ascension flight move in a certain way to get yourself elevated to, the vibration of the experiences that you want to have. Um, they're saying that things isn't necessarily going to flow in the way that you're intending for them to flow, actually. And you're going to find out in the process of that where you aren't necessarily all the way aligned as well in terms of your ability to serve, because there are many layers basically in terms of how we manifest. And a lot of the times, in terms of like not necessarily receiving what it is that we want to manifest, it's dependent on what it is that we're not giving, basically, in terms of our recipe. It's kind of like when you make a cake. You can't be missing ingredients and then expect the cake to still like turn out like a pretty decent looking cake. It's going to have some quirks, right? Same rules apply with the process of this. So they're saying it's not just about meditating and praying on this. None of that, especially because we're dealing with a lot of retrograde energy as well. All of the planets are going back to things that also needs to be aligned, based on past context to align with the present reality. So that in essence is like you're getting an updating from the past, and your present self is going to benefit for your future self moving forward, right? So as you're navigating through the process, you're going to have to find your happy, and that's going to be the challenge as you navigate through this. So yeah, just know that that's your birthright. As you're navigating through the process, the universe intends for you to be able to feel that, even if it might not feel like that in the moment, but that's what it's supposed to be. Okay. See how hard you've got to like turn your neck to see that degree of perspective, basically. It's the best way that I can put that. Right. So, should we take heed of this awesome message from the universe? How do you see things playing out ultimately with this Capricorn full moon? Should we take heed, guys? Okay, we're going to be releasing some bondage during this cycle. That's nice. That would be lovely. Please and thank you. Reclaiming our power. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay. So, interesting. So, the outcome of this is that we'll be observing where we've invested our energy and why we're frustrated. It's like we're gonna have to go and reevaluate. It's like, yeah, no, I shouldn't have placed my energy in that place because clearly it didn't kind of like yield this type of result for me. So we're kind of like learning from our foolish tendencies, right? So this is a class of where we've been naive, basically, where we've chosen to kind of like not really look at it with the lenses of where we are now, and we may have been looking at it from lenses of, like I said, it depends on what cycle we're actually sort of like breaking free from. But For some of us, it's going to be teen formative years. For others of us, it will literally be for the first 3 decades of life. For others of us, it may be the second and third decade. So it's all just purely dependent on when those choices were made, because this is why Saturn's in retrograde as well, because that karma is now paying itself, right? We're kind of balancing out the bank balance, basically. So it's going to be interesting, but we're looking at where we're sort of like investing our time and energy and resources, and we're looking at the delays of certain things and kind of like, seeing where we've been impulsive in the past and how that may have caused us to get a little bit burnt, to be fair. Yeah. But it's an undertone of a major arcana as far as this class, but it's not too big. Oh wow, I say it's not too big of a deal, and then I go into the deck and there's like three major arcanas at the bottom of the deck. We've got the Chariot, the High Priestess, and we've got the Fool. So clearly behind the scenes there's a lot more that's going on with this situation. Actually, it's about how everything's going to be able to propel us forward. Interesting. Into that high priestess energy, like into really being able to sit into that divine self that God has ordained us all to be, right? This is going to be interesting. So the vibration, I guess, that's going to be a necessity in navigating through this particular junction of life for us is happiness, guys. Whatever that means to you guys, however that looks to you guys, happiness is going to be the key to navigating through the process of this situation. And it's going to be instrumental in terms of how you're able to influence others with your happiness, I believe. And how, oh, wow, by the time we come down from this, we're actually going to be like in self preservation mode, guys. It's going to be an interesting one. We may also have to navigate through people that are basically like, they have a lot of walls up. Basically, they've now activated their own walls. They're not receptive to you. They're not really warm. They're not really welcoming. They might not necessarily be in a place where they're actually being, too friendly at all as well. So this is going to be interesting. There's going to be some triggers in the air, that part, but we're sticking to the process. We're sticking it out in those relationship dynamics and those contract situations. We're just going to be shifting a little bit of perspective and growing in appreciation of each other in those relationship dynamics. So yeah, for some of us it may occur in family dynamics. For others of us, we may experience it in romance class as well, to kind of see how some of those, paternal dynamics and triggers actually are impacting our relationship dynamics. For others of us, we'll see it play out directly in family situations where we identify where in some cases we may feel like we're not necessarily protected. In other cases, it may actually feel like we have to be able to vocalize and exercise our own paternal voice, like how we've learned basically to father ourselves. So, and articulate that actually. So this is going to be an interesting class, guys. Interesting class. Best of luck with it, y'all. Right? Let's see. What is the overall guidance as far as the message from the angels on this? How do the angels advise? Navigating through all of this awesomeness, right? What is the advice? Okay, thank you. Interesting. Choose a new direction and communicate clearly. Not necessarily in the next few weeks. You don't necessarily even have to meditate on the answers over the course of that part, right? Choose a new direction and communicate that clearly. It's not necessarily going to be something that's going to play out over the course of the next few weeks. So the meditation part of it isn't necessary at this point, and they've said that a couple of times as well. This isn't about meditating on the answers. This is deeper than that. So we're going to have to let go there's a few things, I guess. In this season, it may be a situation where a couple of people get released, or it may actually be organizations as well, because not paternal, Capricorn tends to also really be able to kind of like impact that energy, tends to impact as well. Universally is within the collective, it tends to impact our work dynamics as well, because that Saturn energy wants to be able to see how well we're able to work hard and delegate, right? But there's changes coming. They're saying so. There's a couple of things that's going to get released for these changes. There's going to be places where it's a not yes, but not a no. And one has to be assertive about that to be able to find the right middle ground with things, right? It's like, it's not that I don't agree with what you're saying, but this is really actually my perception on the situation. Here's a nice middle ground where I think this is what you're trying to say and this is what I'm trying to say. So let's meet here, type thing. Those are the type of conversations, I guess, that we'll be having during this climate for some of us. That's how it's going to be playing out in romance, right? In terms of the situation, we'll be able to see things unfold in less than a year, basically. We'll be able to recover as well from this cycle. Like whatever we release, we'll be able to receive this back by Capricorn season. We'll be able to be like grounded, in balance, in flow, and we'll be at a place where all is not lost, basically. Temporary sacrifices. So, like I said, there'll be a shedding, at least two or three dynamics or situations that will show up for some. For others of us, there may be 3 to 5 classes that we're sitting, okay, depending on how many toxic people we have around us during this cycle, because that's how the triggers work. It can only happen in toxic environments, right? In toxic places, in toxic situations. You're not necessarily going to feel like a emotional rise, basically in a resting state in situations where it's a little bit more healthy. The types of emotions that you have will be vibrating a lot higher, right? So that's an aspect of the situation. Hey, Gypsy. Oh no, I have plenty toxic people around me. Well, get prepared for the triggering, girl. Just make sure that you're ready to pow, pow, pow. It's going to be one of those seasons, right? Depending on how many toxic people, you might have 5 classes to sit, because all of those toxic people are erupting all at once during this climate. So, um, yeah, I'll pray for you, girl. That's all I can say. That's what I can say, because I am realizing just how toxic people are around me, actually, and people that you wouldn't even actually sort of like think on. So, um, I will definitely be praying for you, because that means you may be, you may be more susceptible to like the higher end of the amount of classes for this season. Obviously, it's only like 28, 29 days. So thankfully, during this class, it's like 3 to 5 lessons. If you go through them quickly, at least, you can just start preparing yourself, I guess, for what's to come as well with the Cancer new moon as well, because that's going to come and just mix the whole part up as well. So that part. But let's go and dive into first finding some new crystals that I can use, because the others have wandered off. Actually, they've decided they don't want to play this game. So I'm going to go and find some new crystals in the packet, firstly, because I don't know what happened there. That was just so. And I can't even see them because they're triplets. This is why I think the universe is like having a laugh at my expense, right? I wouldn't even be able to kind of like navigate that as well. So there's nothing I can do. I'm going to pop the light on as well, guys, because I forgot to do that. It was still light when I started, but now it's getting a little bit dark. But I hope that that was useful for you guys. For the most part, Smaradinia, keep me posted on that, beautiful, because they're obviously going to be seeing how their daddy issues as well are kind of playing out. And it's going to be an interesting task. I'm just going to put the light on, guys. I'm still trying to see if I see those crystals. Oh, that's interesting. They've just gone already. Look, my first release of the Capricorn full moon, y'all. Oh, thank you, my love. Thank you, beautiful. Let's go back in the packet and have a look and see. I actually quite liked those. Let's see what. Oh, gosh. Here we are again. Here we go again. Oh, we've got two that's popped out. Interesting. These are both heart chakras, though. So this is interesting. These are both heart chakra crystals, right? Because we've got the rose quartz and we've got the green aventurine. So this is going to be an interesting one because the rose quartz is about self-love, whilst the green aventurine is actually about collective love and how we actually show love to others and how we express our love for others. So this is interesting. I guess I get it. I guess I get it to some degree. But let's dive into it and see for the most part what's actually going to be taking place with these, because that's interesting that they've just given us like, okay, root chakra and heart chakra. That's the main thing to focus on, even though there's going to be stuff happening with the crown. I don't get that. That's interesting. Okay, so we're going to start off with the rose quartz. Did you guys see it? There we go. There we go. That's how that goes. Okay, so we're going to go into the rose quartz and have a look and see what transpires with the rose quartz in terms of the situation, where we are with the dynamics on certain things, and how to navigate through it, right? So with the rose quartz, for you as you're navigating through this, oh, I see. That's interesting, yeah, because we're going to be dealing with paternal wounds. So hard. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. Okay, so for those of you who've chosen the rose quartz, this is going to be a time of self-love. This is where you're going to be sort of like basically reparenting yourself. This is going to be your main focus. That's where your main aspect is going to be in terms of your updating with this process. You're going to be reparenting in terms of some of the areas where you felt like you weren't necessarily covered in terms of paternal dynamics and relationship. And you're actually going to be updating those programs yourself, in essence, when it comes to how things play out. So bear with me, I'm actually making note on the details of crystal number 2, which is the rose quartz crystal, interestingly enough, right? And hopefully, like as we kind of like navigate through the process during this cycle, the Capricorn, Saturn's going to be helping us to be able to really understand how to better parent ourselves as well. Saturn's really going to be it's going to be that kind of, I don't want to say tough love, but it is going to be a very stern love. It is going to be a very almost forced love, if you will. So it's going to be very, very interesting for the most part, actually. It's going to be really quite interesting. So let's have a look and see. Where are the guys who've chosen the rose quartz crystal? Where are they in terms of this Capricorn full moon transit internally? Let's start there firstly. Okay. Oh, justice is playing out. So this is balance of karma yet again, but this is where truth, the ultimate truth, is going to be coming out basically. Oh wow, this is interesting. Rose quartz, this is the ultimate truth. So your truth versus somebody else's perception of the reality. Again, we were speaking about, breaking through veils and stuff. So this is really quite interesting. Um, Let me have a look and see, guys. Where are we as a collective for those of us who've chosen the rose quartz crystal? Oh wow. There's a lot in there. Oh gosh. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. Oh guys. I would have preferred it in like I thought we were on a roll tonight actually when I saw the one card come out for the what's it called? The previous one. This time we've got 13 cards actually, which is interesting. Okay, so we'll be navigating through the realms of the archangels. So, okay, Archangel Raphael is going to be very, very important to the process as well. Potentially Archangel Michael as well, to bring that self-balance, that self-love into balance as well. Let me just receive all the downloads on this as well, just to sort of look and see, because there's a few, wow, there's a few major arcanas here as well. Wow. Okay, so what's going on for us as far as like where we are, right? The path that we're like, where we are on the journey internally. So we're kind of like, we're being very perceptive about our partnerships, right? And this is particularly to do with careers. This dynamic is speaking in essence and context, particularly to do with career. So it's feeling a little bit bored, basically being perceptive about the reality moving forward, that one is just going to be bored of how things may likely play out. And although you've been really calm about the connection and how things are moving in the past, you've been calm about it, but moving forward, you're kind of walking away from that response to the situation, right? You're walking away from that response to the situation, and it's not even a case of like wanting to incite any disasters. It's actually wanting to kind of like avoid any disaster at all costs, and being impulsive in the process of being able to make those decisions, being hasty and determined actually to avoid disaster moving forward, which is why you're actually walking away or stepping away from certain things when it comes to the career dynamic and situations that may likely actually feel like it's tugging on your energy, manipulating your ability to have that room, that space, that time, that mental capacity for self as well, right? Not being able to be resilient, not being able to be resourceful because there's a creative blockage that you're experiencing. Um, and it seems as though there's like not being able to kind of like move on aspects of the situation as well, carrying some baggage, and not being able to really realize, the that you hold the key, not being able to realize how to utilize the keys that you have to unlocking the successes that you want. So you're kind of walking away from anything basically that's in that dynamic when it comes to career situations, in terms of how you're making the decisions. You're not necessarily all the way clear, I guess, in terms of what your priorities are. I will say that much. You're not all the way clear in terms of what your priorities are with the situation when it comes to the career situation. You may actually just be responding to the now situation, which is some creative blockages, which is what you're navigating through for the sake of where we are with all these retrograde motions, right? We're dealing with some stagnant energy, we're dealing with some stagnation in terms of the manifesting, and we're in a process of revising. And as we're revising, we're actually sort of like taking the opportunity to make decisions in a way that's going to be more serving to who we are, how we show up in situations, and what's the best way to actually navigate through things moving forward, right? For the most part, let's have a little look and see what path we're crossing as we navigate through this awesome stuff right here, guys. Okay, so let's have a look and see what path we're crossing. What path are we crossing? Oh, this is going to impact romance class, or romance class may trigger or be triggered by this dynamic of career. So this is interesting. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How amazing. Okay, so we are releasing contracts, right? We're releasing contracts. We are letting contracts go. We are observing, we are being perceptive, and we're releasing contracts accordingly to the clarity that we're receiving. We are releasing contracts in accordance to just being able to really identify what is and isn't necessarily working when it comes to certain situations for us. Um, yeah, I think in being able to see things show up the way that it's showing up at the minute, um, we're really getting an opportunity to see a little bit of, how can I put it? A little bit of the doubts, right? The doubts are going to be sort of like showing themselves, and we're going to be really reevaluating certain contracts based on doubt. We're going to be reevaluating certain um, dynamics and situations based on where we've placed benefit of our doubt, and we've been impulsive in certain situations, particularly to do with career class, and how those decisions are likely to basically impact us, basically moving forward with certain dynamics and situations. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. Interesting. Let's have a little look and see how to work our light as we navigate through the process of this, right? So that we can just get some guidance. How do we work our light, guys, as we navigate through the process of this releasing of this contract? Okay. This time we're being asked to fill up our well. This time we're being asked to pour into ourselves. Okay. Right. Let's have a little look and see. Okay, so what I'm seeing with the situation is that, okay, this is an initiation. This is an initiation. What's going on, what's taking place isn't it isn't divinely guided. It isn't divinely planned. It's something the ego is going rogue, basically. The ego is going rogue, and it's going to take you into an initiation, into new grounds, basically. So career class is really where this one's going to play out for you during this cycle. You may be releasing your current dynamics in terms of your career situation. So you may be getting a new contract elsewhere. Definitely not in this season because this is release season for you, but maybe in Cancer season, new moon, you might be able to kind of like balance that out and come down in that space. But it seems as though like you're going through a rite of passage because what you're navigating through, and in terms of how you're making decisions when it comes to the career situation, um, it is something to be taken seriously. It is something to actually really be taken into consideration. And it's something that having a lot of egos involved in the process isn't really going to be what's beneficial for you in the long term, right? So we want to really start to get our heads around the process of what it is that we're doing, to really get an understanding of why we're doing some of the things that we're doing as well, right? That part. So, yeah, looking at this dynamic, let's go and have a look and see what the message is from the universe as well in navigating through this. Don't tell me that I done lost the green aventurine as well. That was funny because I've already lost a couple of crystal chiplets already. And that was funny. Okay, that part. Right. Okay, so oh, interesting. When I'm aligned with love of the universe, peace cannot be disturbed. That means that we're not really aligned, and that's not really what it's about in this dynamic. Okay, and that's being internalized energies and internalized peace. Okay. Let's see, guys. What is the message from the universe in terms of like, should we take heed of how to work our light? What is the universal message on how to navigate through this climate that we're navigating through at the minute? Make it very clear, please, guys. Thank you. There we go. Obstacles are detour in the right direction. Okay, we're kind of like navigating through that. Hey, Sammy. So it's interesting, right? Because we're kind of like going through this path where we're sort of realizing that some of the resistances and the obstacles that we're meeting are actually sort of like pushing us in the right direction. Obviously, this particular crystal is talking about self-love, particularly to do with career dynamics, and some of the obstacles that we're going to be dealing with there, you know, we're kind of dealing with creative blockages that are pushing us in the right direction. The ego may be making some forced decisions. It may be making some impulsive decisions, but the climate was designed the way that it's designed at the minute to kind of force the ego's perception into certain um, learnings and observation. That's probably the best way that I can put it. But for the most part, it's like internally we're navigating through realizing that in every moment the universe is conspiring to bring us towards right-minded thinking and the energy of love. So we have to be mindful internally of when we aren't necessarily in that place. And that's what's going to be coming up, right? Especially in the career dynamic, we're going to be triggered in that space, I guess, to release some of these contracts. The obstacles are going to show us what contracts needs to be released and why some of those contracts needs to be released to be able to make way for what's in store ahead, really. which is interesting because the priorities are off. The juggling isn't really giving at the minute. It's not really there. It's not giving what it's supposed to be giving. And as we're navigating through this process, we're actually going to have to learn how to be able to navigate through some of these obstacles that we're dealing with when it comes to career dynamics. So that's a part of the process, actually. Yeah, that's a part of the process. But, and however, I think that dealing with situations where we're not just meeting those obstacles and just kind of like hitting our head against a brick wall over and over and over again, we're actually sort of being perceptive about it and deciding what is and isn't necessarily working, right? And that's actually going to be one of the aspects of the situation that's going to be really, really quite interesting. Yeah, yeah. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to check and see what the outcome will be, right? If we should go ahead and take heed of the message from the universe and utilize that, and take heed of the message on how to work our light and utilize that. What is the outcome for us? Should we actually sort of take all of this into consideration and apply it in practice? What is the outcome for us, guys? Those of us who've chosen the rose quartz crystal. Okay. So we'll start quickly taking the right actions. Okay. Oh, interesting. Sorry. We've got a jumper. The Page of Cups jumped ship for a minute. He ran off. He decided that it wasn't for him. Okay, so it's interesting. We're dealing with new beginnings. That's the outcome. We're dealing with new beginnings, a new energy of creative flow that's a little bit more warm and friendly and inviting. We're dealing with, um, you know, delays to those new beginnings. And that's the undertone, right? It's there, and we can see that it's there, but we kind of have to wait a while for it to kind of like come into manifestation when it comes to some of these transits that are taking place during this Capricorn full moon, right? It will probably be around about Capricorn new moon before we're able to plant new seeds in this career situation. But during this, what, 28, 29 day cycle, we're going to be navigating through a lot of releasing of contracts in that place, in that space when it comes to career and business. There'll be contracts that are getting released, and there'll be no capacity to take up something else in its place per se. But it's a case of reevaluating as well. Okay, what else would I want to do differently? Not just like that time. I don't necessarily have that time to give to that situation. What else can I do? And looking at your options from that perception as well. Okay. Let's have a little look as well and see what is the overall guidance as well, I guess, from the angels in navigating through this. Right? Choose a new direction. Choose a new direction. The angels are also advising to choose a new direction, guys. You're ready. You're ready to choose a new direction. You're ready to know that this isn't a yes, and that does mean that there's big happy changes. Just look for a sign to choose a new direction. It's not necessarily the right time, which, that's a no. But you can reconsider the yes and decide on how you want to navigate through the situation moving forward and be assertive with that. It doesn't necessarily have to happen in the near future, but it is likely to sort of take place. I guess in the next few weeks, you'll be able to kind of like see how things play out with the situation. Okay. Right. Let's go ahead and see about the process. Right. I hope that that was useful for you guys as well. I'm going to go into the final crystal for the readings for this Capricorn full moon. Because obviously, you guys know your girl's got to get out of here. I've got a friend date at 10. We got to do some meditation. Okay. Even though a couple of times the cards have said it's not just about meditating on the answers, it's about being proactive in this space. Right. So that's kind of what the situation is at the minute. And let's go ahead and see. Right. So crystal number 3 is a rose, the green aventurine. I'm gonna give you an actual crystal for that. Actually, I did have a crystal as well for the rose quartz, but I wanted to use a triplets. Those are what came out. I didn't expect a rose quartz and they thinking, and it was funny because they were telling me about these two crystals before, and I wasn't trying to hear them on that. But then they chucked my other crystals on the floor, I guess, or I did that rather accidentally on purpose. But those are gone. Because it was always going to be the green aventurine and the rose quartz. So, for those of you who have decided that the rose quartz is your crystal of liking, I would say for you, you're dealing with how you're finding the right balance between like external love and how you love the collective. So you may be navigating through feelings of hatred. You may sort of be tight in places when it comes to certain people. You may be dealing with situations where you are the topic of discussion pretty much in most cases when it comes to certain situations, right? So that's one of the things that I would say is going to be like a factor for you in navigating through the process of this climate. You're actually going to find the right balance on how to be able to love externally, even when people are testing you on your boundaries. And when I say your boundaries, I mean with yourself, like when you find yourself coming out of character, when you find yourself basically being tested in a certain type of way. You can't really be too careless. You have to allow for yourself to come together on certain things. And when I say come together, I mean sometimes we can actually be like a little bit like scattered and displaced in terms of our energy. Kind of like what I'm doing now whilst I'm channeling, she says. But it's one of those situations where oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Interesting. Um, yeah, it's funny. Because I am like actually doing a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone's trying to offer me a reading at the minute. It's so funny, guys. Whilst I'm live in a meeting, this is why I stay off social media. If you guys are actually like out here and trying to get a hold of me and contact me on social media and stuff like that, this is why I'm off social media. I'm just like connecting, I guess, with these people that have attempted to connect with me today. And it's people just want to like offer me readings. But you know what that really sort of like entails as well. I'm really not into that type of energy, to be fair. Like I never really um I don't really go to people per se for readings, to be honest. I would be quicker to get a reading from family or friends, to be fair, because they know me and they're more connected to my guides in general. And my guides don't like to be out here just sharing a lot of my files. So that's really interesting. But yes, collective, right? We're talking about collective love, and I really appreciate the love that they are sending me. I hope that the love is genuine. Because like if you don't want to do a reading, it's like, okay, I'm taking my love back. But yes, we're dealing with the way in which we're experiencing external collective love and how we express our love, and how we respond or react when that love is tested as well. Because I think that there'll be some heartbreaks during this season in terms of how things are likely to play out, and how things are likely to actually be when they manifest in essence as well. So let's see how things actually sort of play out, right? Let's go ahead and start off with this lot firstly. We'll go with this tarot deck and see what is to come with the situation. Show me, guys. Where are we as a collective? For those of us who've chosen the green aventurine crystal for the Capricorn. Okay, thank you. Interesting. Oh, inevitable endings and turning points. Wow. Inevitable endings and turning points. We're going through a recovery period, basically. We're recovering from the endings of certain cycles that have already been completed. And now we're pivoting. We're pivoting, and that pivot is going to cause a breakdown in communication. As we navigate through that breakdown in communication, we're actually going to be finding we're going to be finding out where we're going to be able to inherit the next best situation through these setbacks, basically. There's definitely going to be setbacks when it comes to finances, yes, but also in terms of like family dynamics. Those are the two places where we're going to experience some setbacks. And this pivoting that we're experiencing is going to be taking place in family dynamics in particular. It's a major arcana for us, so this is a big class for us. We've only got the one card, well, two cards, but we've only got the one major arcana, which is the Wheel of Fortune. So karma is in our favor in some degree with this, because we've already paid the karma that is basically being delivered in this particular dynamic, right? For those of you who've chosen the green aventurine. So with that, we want to go and have a look and see what path you're crossing, because we can see that there's a pivot. It's taking place. There's been some ruin to kind of like get us to this place, but we also want to understand what's ahead, right? As we're navigating through this path. So firstly, let's have a look and see what path are we crossing as a collective, guys. Oh, we're going back into contracts. We're going back into contracts, basically. Thank you. Okay, interesting. Interesting. So, looking at the path that we're crossing, I can see that in observing the process of the situation, the solar plexus has already been activated, basically coming into this climate. So there isn't really much time for rest, is what we're navigating through in terms of this junction, I guess, this path that we're crossing. And moving forward, we will be taking action. It's all action based. And there is abundance that's present, but we're actually like, there's just so many things to do. There's so many things to do. It's a lot to kind of take in at the minute. And yeah, it's interesting to see how everything pans out with the situation, right? Yeah, it's interesting to see how everything pans out. Um, what I do see with the situation as well, although there is like this abundance that's present, you have to be the one to be able to navigate through the variables of the situation to activate your magician. So you have to be resourceful. You have to be able to kind of like really let your resilience sort of like show through, because it's going to come with its own heartbreaks, right? So you're going to experience moments where victory is not yours, and you don't get to be able to kind of like look at a situation and see it feeling or being like it's blossoming or experiencing it too much as a situation where, you know, you're able to really see things come into fruition in the same way. um it's interesting for the most part in terms of where we are right now with the situation. But I guess let's go and have a look and see how to work our light in navigating through this all work energy. It's just action, action, action. Is very, very quick pace. And it's interesting. There's definitely a transition that's taking place at the minute. Let's see. Show me. Hmm. Let's have a look and see. Okay, protection is the advice. Protection is the advice. Okay. Good stuff. Okay. Looking at it, guys, let's have a look and see how to work our light is to, we've got a few cards. So let's just line everything up nicely. All right, let's line everything up nicely. Okay. Okay, so I had to spread them all the way down. But interesting, how to work your light. Okay, so it's talking about you know, coming into this place. It's not about sharing your voice, it's about channeling and uplifting humanity. Not everything needs to be expressed. So you don't have to wait or postpone anything. It's just one of those things you don't even need to share. And it's kind of telling you that you know, these are things that needs to be taken seriously. Your mission, basically, to channel and uplift humanity, is something to be taken seriously. And you don't have to answer the calling presently, because it's already been something that's been seeded. It's not about thinking about what lights you up moving forward. It's really about looking in those moments to see, you know, again, how can you channel and continue to uplift humanity? It's not about the things that are triggering you in those moments. It's not about, you know, your devotion to kind of like teaching or wanting to sort of, you know, be that mystic priestess or priest energy that's, you know, enlightening others about themselves and the spiritual journey that they're on and the spiritual quest to find self. It's not about that in this dynamic. It's just about taking action and moving forward. It's not about even setting boundaries. It's about having the internal boundaries for yourself and knowing when to share and when to just kind of sit, look back, and sit back and observe, and just continue to do your part in terms of your mission of channeling and uplifting humanity. It's quite the task. So it's really just more or less about observing how to navigate through the process of all of that as well. And identifying what needs to be shared and what doesn't, and when it needs to be shared, and when it's an internal no, for you to be able to think about what lights you up, because it's not about just what lights you up, it's about taking the action that's going to allow for this pivoting to be able to ground, right? Okay, so let's have a look and see what the message is from the universe, right? Let's have a look and see what the message is from the universe. Okay. My faith has the power to turn trauma into healing, conflict into growth, and fear into love. Interesting. Okay, so the guidance or the message from the universe is that it's not about your happiness being a direct reflection of your level of faith in the universe. It's actually more about understanding that the moment that you embrace the peace within yourself and surrender the outcome is actually the moment that the universe can truly get to work, and really allow for hope to become the conduit for miracles to manifest themselves, right? Which is so beautifully said. I like the way that they've put that. This one, I think the first one was about happiness. This one is not about what makes you happy per se. It's actually really about being able to kind of surrender to the universe's process and what needs to actually happen with that process. So, yeah, let's have a look and see as far as the guidance from the angels as well. Oh, no, my bad. I needed to actually do the outcome first. Let's go and do the outcome, right? And then we'll do the guidance from the angels on this one for you guys. And then your girl's going to go and finish up what I got to do, y'all. What is the outcome, guys? Should we take heed on the message from the universe, working our light? Should we take this in? What is the outcome? Okay, so it's interesting because we're navigating down a fool's journey, so it's a new beginning, a new quest that we're a little bit naive to. We're not too familiar with the process of that, or what it entails, or what the situation may actually be, right? But what is the outcome, guys? Should we take heed of this guidance and message? What is the outcome? Okay, so looking at the situation, I can see that the outcome ultimately is really having something, not necessarily dying. I guess it's not being able to kind of move on from a situation, being a little bit insecure about the situation as well. Hey, Marjay. Being a little bit insecure about the situation. I'm about to wrap up. I'm just finishing up at the minute. I got meditation with Charlotte. So yeah, the outcome, should we, I guess, take heed of the message from the universe and how to work our light, is that we won't necessarily be releasing something that we were hoping to release during this season, because it's a miscommunication situation, and that miscommunication will actually resolve itself. But that's only going to come by actually being able to kind of like surrender to what you think the outcome needs to be, or what you think the outcome should be for you to find peace with the situation, and let the universe basically give you an outcome that is going to be an equal level playing field for all involved, because that's inevitably what's going to happen. That's really where your insecurities are. So that's what the universe is going to present for an opportunity of growth to occur and take place, basically. So as you navigate through the process, let's go ahead and see what the overall guidance is as far as what the angels have to say on the situation, and take it from there. Right? What is the angelic guidance for us as we navigate through the process of this? What is the angelic guidance, guys? Okay, thank you. They're saying listen to your intuition and wait. Listen to your intuition and wait. There isn't necessarily abundance here, but it is an opportunity to recover. It's not necessarily the right time to say no, but even though you're worried about that, the situation will improve and there'll be the right compromises to be made, which isn't going to be like the ultimate success in the next few weeks per se. But it isn't necessarily up to you to reconsider this, yes, right? There's actually something better taking place, and you don't necessarily need to take action per se, but it is ultimately a yes dynamic situation. Okay. So I am going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I hope that that was useful for you guys. Comment down below and let me know how you guys have found the information, if you like my vibe. I know it's quite complex, I guess, the way that I read, because I'm all about like the science of it all and the factors and the variables and all of these aspects to manifesting, but that's how life works. I don't know what else to tell you guys. But I hope you guys are able to utilize the information to make use of it however it's supposed to be for you, right? Whatever information you're supposed to receive from it, whatever your guides need you to know, see, or hear. I hope that that is received with gratitude. And we will see each other in the next one. I think I'm going to be live at some point. I have to check with you guys and let you guys know when I'm going to be live again. The space is starting to get a little bit tricky for me to be able to manage. So I'm going to have to keep y'all posted on that one. That being said, to be fair, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to come back into space. Lots of family stuff planned this month, so I have to organize myself. I'll probably put it out on the channel. If I'm going live on Friday, you'll probably know by Thursday. If I'm going live by Saturday, you'll probably know by Friday. So that's kind of where we're at the minute, and that's the best I can do for you guys. But I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I will see you guys in the next video as per usual. Namaste. God bless. Try, guys. Take care. Bye.